Greetings, Mana 3301 onliners, and welcome to video number 2 for session 2 of Mana 3301 in this spring semester. I really enjoyed reading your discussion board posts about the discussion between theory X and theory Y. And as many of you pointed out, that it does seem somewhat that the two are extreme opposites of one another as far as a managerial theory. And I think that's where I'd like to kind of take the discussion today. Then, just as a matter of refresher, theory X basically is of the mindset that managers have to constantly watch over employees because they consider employees to be inherently lazy and unmotivated to do work on their own or take their own initiative. And theory Y is exactly the opposite, where management feels as though they have a internally motivated workforce that has a common understanding of the goals to be reached and would like to basically work on their own and need very little close supervision. I think the first point that I want to make, and it will kind of not only govern this discussion, but also the other discussions that will go on throughout the semester, is let's be real sure not to draw too many hard and fast lines or consider the things are either black or white. There is no black or white in management. In fact, I had a mentor tell me many years ago that when I started my career in human resources, he says, Dan, you have to be an expert on the policies and the procedures. In other words, you have to be an expert on black and white. But that's not to force things into either black or white, but it gives you the ability to interpret the gray, because everything you experience will be some shade of gray, and your expertise of the black and the white will help you better interpret that gray. And I think that is a principle that holds true here in this discussion between theory X and theory Y. In fact, I think Brianna put on her post there that theory Z, someone that, we're all focused and committed to the job at hand and the goals and operations and objectives of the organization, and basically can be released to do well for the organization without any kind of supervision. Interesting concept, but I'm not sure that in the diverse workforces that we have, that's necessarily something that is a potentially realistic. Just the same as it is unrealistic to think that all workforces are either X or Y. We do have, though, the understanding that managers tend to be either X or Y, and it's sort of their go-to pattern. Does a manager tend to micromanage or kind of consider themselves to need to be interjected in things? That's not necessarily that they feel that their staff is lazy, but them as a manager feel as though they have to be involved in every aspect that they oversee. Theory Y runs the possibility as a manager is somewhat laid back or hands off because they assume that their employees are all headed in the right direction and have the right direction. So there is basically a blending that is necessary in most workforces. For those of you who are already in management positions or who have held management positions in the past, you probably already know that whenever you assemble a department or a group of employees or a team, you're going to have some that will need more motivation and more supervision than others. There are going to be proactive employees under your direction. There's also going to be ones that you have to kind of prompt to keep working, or that finish one step and wait for instructions on the second step. It's simply human nature, the law of averages, if you will. When you collect a bunch of folks together, they're not all going to be of the same personality type. There was another point that was made in several of the post that I wanted to kind of speak to, and that is the assignment of a theory X or a theory Y to a generational group. I would like to caution you against trying to label generations as one or the other. It is true that the baby boomers are more structured and do tend to have a mentality of being loyal to an organization, whereas the millennials tend to have a more of a life first, work at an organization where there is a kindred interest and a kindred focus until that focus changes. But this not necessarily connect directly to theory X and theory Y. Not all baby boomers are theory X managers. Not all baby boomers are theory X employees. By the same token, not all millennials are theory Y managers, and not all millennial are theory Y employee. Once again, you will find a hybrid, a mixture. Every one of us, regardless of age, knows a person who probably needs more motivation than others to complete their task before them. Others, regardless of age, know employees that are very proactive and eager and focused on the task to be done with little supervision necessary. So be careful in trying to put things into a box or draw those hard and fast lines. What you will find in most management cases, this is one example, is that instead of a line, you will see more of a gradient shade change, kind of moving from a black to a gray or from a white to a gray. So very robust instructions or inputs from the discussion board. I was very excited about reading them. Keep up your good work, and we'll talk to you next week when we discuss session 3. Keep in mind, session 3, the session you're working on right now, has your first written assignment. This written assignment has 5 points. Be sure to cover all 5 of those points in the instructions in your paper. That's the biggest mistake that I see from semester to semester, is that you get focused on a particular aspect of the paper and miss one of those 5 points, and that will reduce your overall score. So be sure to cover all 5 points in your written assignment from session 3. Keep up your good work, and I will look forward to seeing you next week online.